Hey guys, what's going on? This is Roth. I'm here with Eric. Talk a little Game of Thrones, our Game of Thrones show.
The House of Black and White was this week's episode.
Yes. So we're going to talk about full spoilers for this week's episode, episode 2. If you haven't seen it, of season 5. Thank you. Very specific. No. He always catches me up and fills in the blanks. So we're going to talk about that. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Come back, chat with us. The pros, the cons, the all of it.
Yes.
Are you ready? Spoilers ahead. Let's dive in and talk a little bit about presence in the form of serpents.
Presence in the form, I was like, where is she going with this?
Where are you going with this?
Presence in the form of...
I actually love that as a threat. It's kind of badass.
It is. Hey, snakes. They're a powerful image. They have a lot of meaning.
Yes.
We were talking...
And they certainly have a lot of meaning in the culture in Dorne. Let's get specific about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Cersei got a gift,
right,
of sorts from the people in Dorne. There was a serpent that was, like, what had they done to? Is it like a taxidermist?
I don't know. It was very creative.
And with Myrcella, her daughter's necklace on a fang, which was clearly, as she said to Jaime, a threat.
And here's where we were talking before about the fact that. You have to keep in mind, Myrcella existing, I bet a lot of casual viewers of the show forget that there is a daughter, that Joffrey had a sister, because there's so many characters.
Right.
We saw her early on, but she was never a focus.
Right.
She was kind of, you might have even not realized who she was exactly when she was there.
Right, and the people also, I think, maybe forget that before Joffrey died, that now Tyrion and Cersei always had static. They did not get along, but the real break in their relationship is Tyrion had Myrcella sent to Dorne, and he did it to protect her. Because war was coming to their doorstep.
Right.
But her mother did not take it that way. Cersei did not take it that way.
She takes everything badly that Tyrion does.
She was displeased.
Yeah.
To say the very least, and she is even more displeased now.
And now, of course, now there's some static with Dorne because of what happened last season with the Viper in the Mountain.
Yeah.
And, their sort of champion being killed as he was, who was already there on a mission of vengeance. And now they have something very valuable. They have, a potential heir to the throne again. If something happened to Tommen, she would now be, with Joffrey dead, that she
would be an heir to the Iron Throne.
Right.
And again, as everybody has pointed out in the show, with all of her flaws and many, many, many that they are, she loves her children. Cersei loves her children, and she loves Myrcella. So that means that she is a powerful asset for anyone that wants to hurt her, who wants to hurt Cersei.
And then you bring Jaime into the mix, which is interesting because Jaime has yet he obviously has his love for his sister and he loves Tyrion, but he always was distanced from his kids.
His love for his sister.
Right. His kids who are supposed to be his nieces and nephews, but we've never seen any real interaction with them, and yet here he is now being tasked by Cersei to go get her, go get our daughter.
Yeah, and it's a powerful moment, I think, and the evolution of their relationship, as twisted as this is, I really have so much compassion for him because he is like that guy or woman, anybody in a relationship that's truly in love with the other person, and the other person is just not appreciating them.
Right.
And
it's his sister.
And it's his sister, which is disturbing, I know.
Yeah.
But
you kind of forget sometimes, and then you remember.
And then you remember and you want to throw up a little bit. Yeah. But it's his twin. But he really loves her.
He does.
He really loves her. He will do anything for her. And as much as he's on a mission, I think, now to rescue his daughter, he wants to rescue his own image.
He wants to prove himself to Cersei. Yeah. Right now, because as far as we've seen and know, he's probably kind of pushed aside, those are my kids, because he could never acknowledge it publicly.
Yeah, because they would die for it, as he says.
Yeah. And so, but yes, he maybe does want to prove himself to Cersei here. And that was interesting because then he went to Bronn, which I really liked, because last season we did get Bronn kind of training him to retrain him on using a sword with his left hand.
Yeah.
And those were really fun scenes, but it didn't kind of have a payoff.
And now it does.
And now it does, to see them working together again, because Bronn's great, but with Tyrion gone, he doesn't really have a purpose. We liked the Jaime Bronn dynamic, so it's kind of cool to see these two characters have a team-up mission.
Yeah, and they were sort of planting the seeds. I mean, they were finding a way to keep using Bronn in the show, which I think is again a big difference between the show and the books. Is that when you have a character like that that's such a fan favorite, and you can keep using them, then you want to.
Right.
So it's a very dangerous mission that they're on, as we know, because we've seen a little bit about what's happening in Dorne.
Right.
Let's talk about that a little bit and sort of the different perspectives about how to handle the issue of what happened with the Viper and having this asset.
I mean, again, it's how everything, it's all a house of cards or dominoes, if you will. And the Mountain won that fight, as we all remember, but there are consequences.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have this girl who is so valuable, both as a possible heir to the throne, but then personally, Cersei, again, she is, that mother lion and will do anything to protect her children. This is crucial now for her. And, you kind of feel like Cersei is barely holding it together. And if she lost another kid, that might be the final thing for her. And
mentioned in this episodes were, and I believe it was mentioned last season, we won't talk too much about it, but mentioned in this episode are the sand snakes. Those might be cool. Those might be cool. That might be something. Well, I think we can say who they are because it was mentioned last season.
Yeah.
Those are his daughters. Who are not going to be too happy about their dad dying. We'll see, potentially, we don't know. But the point is there's danger afoot there. And then she's skipping in the gardens. Marcella blindly skipping around, not knowing.
Blondly and
blindly skipping around, not knowing that her very life is on the hook.
Yeah.
So a lot of tension there. Let's talk a little bit about the wall, what was going on at the wall.
Big thing there. I mean, actually a really interesting moment where Stannis said, you can stand as Jon Stark.
Yeah.
And that had a lot of meaning. I mean, especially on this show, where this show is all about undercutting expectations and your traditional paradigms and your traditional hero's journey. All that being said, Ned Stark, who seemed to be the big hero of the show, got killed.
Yeah.
Robb Stark, who seemed to be take up his dad's mantle as the hero of the show, got killed. Jon's kind of all we have left of a traditional hero. He's still not doing what we think. He still did not, leave and go join Robb. And I'll avenge Dad together. He didn't leave when Robb got killed.
Yeah.
But when that was offered to him, it was interesting because it was like the Stark name has meaning, has this noble, heroic force on a show that's about a lot of unheroic, unnoble people.
Well, and I think that's the thing about the Starks, so including Jon, is that he will make the noble decision, and he did. The
most Stark thing Jon could do was reject being a Stark.
That is the most Stark thing Jon could do. It's true, because if he were to accept it, it actually would have been more about his own ego and fulfilling a lifelong dream for himself. But no, he is his father's son. In the sense, the man that raised him was a man of integrity, and he would have said, you made a vow. If you made a vow, you stick to it.
Yeah.
So that is exactly what he did. Whether that's the best thing for him or the realm remains to be seen, and I don't know, you know. But that's what he did. Certainly, my gut instinct was to want him to come on.
Right. Because and meanwhile, because Stannis, while not
North needs you,
right? Because while Stannis is not the most likable guy, he does seem to have better intentions than a lot of these other characters do. And the fact that he's like, hey, you can help lead the North again.
Yeah.
And there's a wish fulfillment on our part as the audience. It's like, that'd be awesome, right?
Wouldn't that be great? And in a very different way, Stannis is also a man of unflinching integrity.
Yeah.
In a much harder way. Much more unflinching, but he is, and so I think they see something in one another, right? Especially I think Stannis sees something in Jon, and I think he even respects the decision, as much as it's not what he wants him to do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting. You take a vow, you keep it. Let's talk a little bit about somebody else who made a harsh decision this week. Daenerys had to make a difficult choice. And I don't know that it was the best one.
Certainly, when we're talking about politics and perception, that might be a bad choice.
It was a terrible political move. It was a terrible
because certainly in the moment, I mean, it literally turned the crowd against her and made things dangerous for her in the moment. She could have been hurt or killed if the people hadn't been there to protect her. So she's trying to be unflinching and stick to her code.
Yeah.
But, there's something to be said for bending the rules. And I mean, this goes back to Ned Stark, who was a great man to a fault, and there were times where it's like, dude, you're playing by rules no one else is playing by.
I wrote down bad political move.
Right.
When I was taking notes.
Like
on
no
this
one will
show,
say
like,
Ned Stark wasn't a great man, but was he always doing the smart thing?
No,
because he was like, there were times where it's like, no, you've got to play by the rules that everyone else is playing by.
And I think that the lesson of the show is that even if you have, one of the lessons of the show is that even if you have the best intentions, you sometimes have to make you often have to make a lot of compromises to reach them. Varys understands this, seemingly he understands this. Whatever your intentions are, you can't bulldoze your way to them. And I think that she really, it was a very Ned Stark thing to do. It was a Jon Snow-like thing to do, to
like,
sort of
this guy broke the rules, broke the law,
and
I must punish him.
I'm going to cut off his head because I'm going to let you know that the law is the law and it applies to everyone, whether you like them or not. But she just took over the city.
Yeah.
She's rapidly changing the culture that has been there for years and years and years. You have got to do that a little bit delicately, not just because it's the smart thing to do, because in a way it's the right thing to do. You can't just force your will on other people to quite that degree. Even if she had to jail him, I don't think public execution was the right move. And the point, it was nice to see her dragon come by and give her like, "Hey, Mom, it's going to be all right, though."
Yeah,
Drogon.
He did a little stop. Yeah.
I feel like Drogon showed up just to sort of, he felt her need. This is my interpretation.
Gave her hope for that moment.
Yeah. My total interpretation was that he felt her need, and he came just to let her know, "I'm still here. But see ya."
I might go kill some more kids. I might go burn some more kids. Yeah.
I might go burn an entire village, but I do love you, Mama.
Now let's talk about Sansa meeting Brienne, because once again, it's always a meaningful moment where we have big characters meet who've never met.
Yeah.
And there was, it was a little, you had to go with the coincidence of like, they're all in the same inn at the same time, but it was still thrilling just to have it happen.
It was a very sort of lost moment for me in that way of like massive coincidence.
We're all connected.
We're all connected. Like, oh, look who's, and you even had a little bit last week, like, look who's going down the road.
Right.
I'll be honest, those do throw me out a little bit because I'm like, no, it's a big Westeros.
Yeah.
But poor Brienne just keeps getting rejected by
these
Stark
girls are not having it, right?
They're not having it with her. Which I think, again, with Arya, we had that moment where you saw how far she had gone, that she would reject a sense of safety. I think Sansa is more rejecting, like, you done me wrong, we're done. I think she's sort of like, if you're a party, sort of to the people that have hurt my family, then she feels hardened to me. That's what I took out of that moment.
I mean, I think it's that. I think it's complicated because I also think it is the devil you know thing, and that she's kind of figured out Littlefinger and what he wants and what he's about. And Brienne, she didn't know they were in the same place. I shouldn't say they've never been together. They were both at King's Landing together, but they never had like meaningful interaction. And she doesn't know her like her mom knew her. And so it's ethereal. There's too much danger there given everything she saw happen in King's Landing. How does she not know she's just going to bring me back to Cersei for something horrible? Another horrible thing.
I think you're right, and I think that there's a part of her that in the training, for lack of a better word, that Littlefinger is giving her, she values it.
Yeah.
I think she appreciates its worth. He's been a survivor in a really big way. He's been able to rise up from nothing and thrive in this world.
Yeah.
And if he can do that, then she can learn from him about how to do the same thing. I think that's where she's maybe coming from. On the whole, though, I was looking, there were a lot of mixed sort of responses to the first episode. We're on the second one now. Are you liking the trajectory of the season?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's where we're at with the story. I think once the war actively is sort of over, it's a little more, and this, again, the books had this in a bigger way almost, a little more meandering because everyone is so separated still, which has always been the case, but there's not as much forward momentum about this battle is coming, this must be defended.
Yeah.
There is the ethereal, there is the threat of the White Walkers and things out there. But I'm still very much enjoying the show. We haven't talked about the title of the episode though.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Arya and her by the end, it looks like she's going to have a new home, maybe.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it very much looks like she came there for a reason, was initially rejected. But in the end, he seemed to be willing to take her in.
Yeah. And I mean, I did like the little glimpse of her on her own out there. Don't mess with Arya. Don't think you can take anything from Arya.
No, she'll kill your bird. She'll
Like,
kill you.
I mean, in fact, Jaqen showing up in the background there in his other guise and scaring those kids off probably saved their lives, or at least one of them, at least that leader who was going to try to mess with her.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Save some lives
Yeah.
in that moment. I think that she is absolutely one of the most fascinating characters on the show. She is a survivor.
Oh, yeah.
Above anybody else, she's been able to survive circumstances that I certainly know I wouldn't be able to survive. But I'm really excited to see the inside of that world, of his world, and what that's going to mean for her and the changes that will unfold.
As am I.